So, I recently moved again, and this gave me an opportunity to go through my childhood home and find anything worth keeping. There wasn't much, but I did find my box of childhood Bionicles and Legos. These, along with my Pokemon toys, were the only toys that I remotely took care of, as my interest in them never went away. Bionicles in particular were always very cool. I was always interested in Lego. However, new Lego sets were always quite expensive. My family did not grow up with a lot of money, but the price of Bionicles was always more accessible, as a single Bionicle dude was always pretty cheap. Grocery outlet for under $15. Besides that, all my other Bionicles were random gifts from neighbors, and even in one case, a local church for Christmas. My few Bionicles I cherished, even to the point when I recovered them a few months ago, I didn't need the directions, as I still had them memorized. These are the ones I still have, and this is the part that gets tougher. I do not remember any of their names or their associated lore. As you can tell, I was generally a fan of the blue ones and the black ones. However, the first one I owned was this red dude, who has seen better days. I still have the grubs for these guys, and that's good because apparently their grubs, along with the mask, are the most expensive parts to replace. Makes sense. Those are easily the coolest parts of any Bionicle set. I think it would be cool to eventually buy all the replacement parts and fully rebuild all of these dudes. I was surprised the parts were still for sale online. The thing that even was more surprising was the fact that a good amount of the Bionicle fandom still remains out there. Growing up, Bionicle was one of those things that became super popular with my peers at school and the neighbor kids, but just as fast as it came, it left, with most people I know lamenting having given away their Bionicles when they got older. As you can tell, I never gave mine away, but it wasn't for a specific love for the franchise. I was always into it for the toys, as I was much more of a kid that would make up their own stories and characters, mixing tons of toys from different franchises together during play. I was always into RPGs, and I would basically use my toys as a way to create my own RPGs that I could play through with just my toys as the characters. As I got older, Legos became more appealing, and they allowed me to use various characters and settings that I built myself. When I found out that Bionicles and Legos could be mixed together to make more complicated builds, the Bionicles became more than just a way to create robots, but a way to make articulated machines, smaller automatons, and vehicles, all in order to expand on my Lego story worlds. This is largely how I interacted with Bionicles and engaged with the toys. With this most recent revisit, one of the things I'm discovering in particular, while talking to others that enjoyed them, is the fact that Bionicles itself had its own plot lines, with world building acting as a major feature and appeal point for the franchise. The story of Bionicle was something I was always vaguely aware of. The directions for Bionicle sets would include comics that would expand on the characters and story of the world. I may have looked at these and read some of these comics included in my sets, but I don't remember any of these. Maybe I was too dumb to understand, but all of this was lost to me, even including each individual Bionicle's name. Bionicles have Polynesian-inspired names that were cool, but also confusing as a kid. I have distinct memories of playing Bionicles with other kids who knew all the names, and they would confuse myself and others by trying to refer to our Bionicles by their actual lore names to us. Calling them by their color usually worked just fine for myself and others growing up. The setting was always cool. I think the visual of an island divided by different dominant elements is distinct and memorable. It's something that immediately gets the imagination flowing and just begs to be explored, like a freshly revealed map in an open world video game. These early commercials were vital for hooking myself in, along with others, into the franchise. As people I knew started collecting Bionicles, sharing your respective favorite color Bionicle was a point of pride and personal expression that made the toys fun to share with others. Though we never really talked about the franchise lore past talking about the newest set we saw a commercial of. In fact, this might sound a little silly, but The fact that Bionicles being like any percentage biological was surprising to me in this revisit. I guess that makes sense because there's a reason there is bio in Bionicle. They are mostly mechanical, but look at these little guys. They have abs under their armor. It's interesting. I wasn't expecting to see that. I don't know if anyone else played with Bionicles the same, but usually when I did early on, I would turn it into a game where you basically had all these parts and you would build a robot and make your robot go on missions and eventually upgrade their weapons and armor. Kind of like a toy version of an Armored Core game. That was probably the main reason I was drawn towards the PS1 Armored Core games as a kid. It was an expansion of the game I was already playing with Bionicles. Though for this revisit to the Bionicles franchise, I went ahead and watched the first Bionicle movie and also all of the commercials. And first thing right off the bat, 2001 to 2016, I wasn't expecting that. I don't really remember Bionicles being a thing past like 2008, so the toys going until 2016 really surprised me. I was in college at the time, but I did hang out in the dining hall just to watch cartoons, so, you know, maybe there was a chance I could have saw the later ones, but whatever. These commercials are cool. I still really dig the first ones that show off the island. I can easily see why these were engaging. Though it is funny, as the commercials go on, they start using pop music and like ass rock. It's so melodramatic as these robot men brood and prepare for some badass emotional fights. It's really funny. I kind of love it. These are the commercials though, so I don't really know about what lore or story these commercials are trying to develop, but they serve the purpose and make me want to own all of these sets. The movie was a completely different beast than I expected. I was expecting more of the ads, basically, but I found something that had more depth. Well, kinda. I'm not saying that the movie is particularly deep or good, but it was more than an ad. It felt like the last 3 episodes of a lost Bionicle TV series. It feels like something that would have and probably should have been a backdoor pilot showing off the origins of these dudes, but it just isn't, because this is the end of a story they were already telling in the commercials and comics. So I understand why the movie feels like a finale. It is a finale. It's actually interesting looking at the writer's credits, as the main writer does have some chops writing for many beloved animated shows, and some much weirder ones. The movie has heart in its writing, but it's riddled with fundamental structural issues to its plot and general pace that make the movie a rough watch. The movie, also being a finale, also relies heavily on supplementary material to understand what's going on, making it a movie that is confusing for a noob or someone revisiting the franchise like me. In general, you want a movie to be able to stand on its own, but regardless, most people know that. But whatever. This story's conclusion being a movie was probably cool to those invested in the franchise at the time. I feel like the visuals are often harped on, but for the most part, I think they are fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. But really, it works. And plus, like, this was a straight to DVD release. It's not going to have a high budget. It's not going to be Pixar or anything, so I think it looks fine for what it is. The action of the movie is interesting. I feel like with these warrior type characters and their weapons would lead to more physical hand-to-hand combat, but they tend to just use their elemental abilities to fight. Only the last fight do we see a more physical fight involving a sort of lacrosse-inspired battle between the main character and villain. It's cool, it works, but why does the frame rate like cut in half near the end of the fight, and why do they fuse just so that Sky can lift a door? It gets really dumb towards the end, like the hero tells no one to go with him, and then he accepts help when this little guy sneaks into his vehicle, but then immediately tells them to go get the rest of the heroes, even though he told them that he doesn't want no one to come with him because it's dangerous or something. It's silly, and then the rest of the Bionicles just don't really help as the protagonist, this gold dude, fights the villain. If I was a kid, I would have enjoyed the movie, but less for the actual story, but how it could inspire me to make new builds. Some of the coolest things to me about this movie is just the world itself and the flavor surrounding it. Seeing these little dudes, the crab thing, the Bionicle cat in the jungle. Can I just say the idea of seeing more Bionicle megafauna is just sounds awesome. If I saw this movie growing up, I would have definitely have tried to recreate some of these creatures and elements. I also would have loved to see the villains' minions as a kid. I was always into the more creature-like Bionicles, and seeing them open up their faces to reveal a monster face would have definitely inspired me to recreate that. It's a neat movie, but I'm not sure if I'm going to become a big Bionicle head after this. A Biochronicler, a Bionicle bro, whatever. But it's neat. When I get the chance, I do plan on revisiting the toys again, rebuilding my dudes, and maybe even coming up with a new build or Bionicle OC. Whomst knows? It's definitely something I will continue to keep my eye on and explore whenever I have the time. So that's about it. How was your relationship with Bionicles growing up? What color was your favorite? Do you actually know the Bionicle lore, or did you just make up stuff yourself like me? Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your day. Should I give like the Bionicle movie like an actual rating? 5 out of whatever.